going. I'm thinking, oh no. So I'm running frantically. I gotta get a new kurta. I gotta put more oil in this bottle. I gotta save my neck here, you know. So, like, the buzzer's going, and I'm running around, and I finally got a devotee. Give me your kurta. It was blue, you know. Mine was dark blue. His was light blue. I says, it's the closest thing I can get. Give me your kurta. For what? Just shut up. Give me your kurta. He switched kurtas up. I filled the bottle up with a little olive oil, because I didn't know what kind of oil it was. He didn't tell me until afterwards. I filled the bottle up with olive oil. I run into his room. I'm soaking sweat, you know, everywhere. And I'm like this. He goes, Arjun, Krishna, you look like you just seen a ghost. I says, I wished I did, Gurudev. I wished I did. So he goes, what's wrong with you? I says, oh, I don't know. It's just something. I just can't figure it out. But it is, Gurudev. So he goes, where's the oil? I says, I got it right here. You know, take the bottle, you know. So he takes the bottle, he looks at it, and I thought I was nailed. I thought I was caught right there. Because the olive oil was a little lighter than the sesame oil. And Gurudev knowing of course I'm sure he did know it, but he let me slide, you know. So I walked out of the room, gave the little bottle to Vinod, thank you, and everything was fine. Slipped that away. About a month later, Srila Gurudev gave me that bottle of oil. He says, keep this, just keep it, and put it on your altar and save it. And I got that bottle of the sesame oil, one of my favorite pastimes. One more I'll give you that's quite hilarious. I think everyone will get a kick out of it. When we were in Hong Kong one time, this was like in 1983. Gurudev took me to Hong Kong as his personal servant. It was the first time I was Gurudev's personal servant. And I wasn't really, you know, I'm from an Italian body and I like cheese and, you know, all the, well, in Hong Kong it seems like everything we ate was just rice and noodles, and I lost like all this weight, you know. I'm thinking, well, maybe we could do something to change this, you know. So I was with Narottam Prabhu, my godbrother. I says, let's make Gurudev a cake, you know. Okay, what kind of cake we gonna make him? I says, no, let's just go to the store and see what kind of cake we can. So we're going through all these cakes, and I see this nice double fudge devil food cake, you know. So we make the cake. I says, Gurudev, we made a nice little special dessert for you. Would you like to try some? He says, what is it? I says, it's a cake. Narottam and I made it for you. He says, yeah, I'll bring it in. So I bring the whole cake in, and he's looking at it, and it's chocolate on chocolate, you know, it's like triple chocolate stuff, and he's looking at it. He says, what kind of cake is this? I says, it's a double fudge cake, Gurudev. He says, no, what kind of cake is it? He says, go get the box. And I got the box, and it read Betty Crocker, Devil's Food Cake. And he looked up at me, Devil's Food Cake? For the Guru? He took a little bite of it, you know, he says, it's fine. Narottam and I went in there and ate the whole thing in about 30 seconds flat. Gurudev walked into the kitchen. We all had chocolate on our face. And he says, what are you doing in here? And we didn't know what to do. It was like he caught the kid with the hand in the cookie jar, you know. He says, what are you doing? I said, we're just honoring that cake. He said, it's all gone. How do you know that I didn't want any more? And we just sat there. I didn't think you wanted any devil's food cake anymore, Gurudev. So that was another one. There's a lot of people that would like to speak. I have unlimited stories. The 3.5 years that I did serve Srila Gurudev while he was going to school in SMU in Texas, I recorded all the conversations. Every time I got a chance that I was away from him, out of his quarters, I would dick the phone, and I've got all these tapes, and sometime in the near future I'll try to put all of this stuff together so everyone could enjoy the wonderful and incredible pastimes of the most magnanimous person that I've ever met in my life. I beg all you great Vaishnavas, don't kick me away. Give me your shelter. And I thank you for being here. And I'm very grateful to have such a wonderful spiritual message.
हरे कृष्ण कर किशोर दास राय और श्री भक्ति शांत सरस्वती ठाकुर। invitation from Ishwar Puri. One night, and the Lord performed Sankirtan, Srinivas Thakur's song died. The Lord revived Srinivas' son, who then speaking philosophy. Mahaprabhu chose his universal form, sitting on the Diriti altar. As the Lord Nityananda who in Haridas were preaching 2 trunks, the God's mother became hungry. Nityananda Prabhu begged Nimai to forgive the brother for stinking him. Mahaprabhu calls Darshan Chakra. Nimai stopped him.
A Muslim Chandrika surrendered to the Lord, joined his Sankirtan party. The Lord left home, take a sannyas, and beyond his mission. In Srinivas ceremony, the Lord devotees can now here to see the beautiful hair being cut off. Mahaprabhu. After taking sannyas, the Lord take a prasad at Advaita Prabhu's house. The Lord danced before the Jagannath chair in Puri. right. There is no difference from Radha and Krishna. The lower verse, Sarvabhuma Bhattacharya, the leader of the impersonalista community in Puri. Sarvabhuma Bhattacharya with Mahaprabhu. The Lord chose Sarvabhuma Bhattacharya what is no different from Vishnu and Krishna. The Lord chose Sarvabhuma Bhattacharya that he is no different from Vishnu or Krishna. Here in the story of Krishna, Chaura Gopinath, the Lord fainted in ecstasis. The Lord fed Srinivas. The Lord fed Shivananda Sen's dog with own hands.
Kim Patrapadura is massacring the lotus feet of Mahaprabhu is costal satisfaction.
Sarvabhuma Patraparu as a Brahma in Mahaprabhu.
The Lord enjoyed Sankirtan and the Narendra Sarovar lake. The Lord Gauranga lived Puri for Vrindavan Dham.
Use all the animals in Jarikanta forest to chant and dance. As the Lord ecstatically remember Krishna pastime in the forest created from him. Rupa Sanatana meet in the Lord. The Lord devotees as arise by arrest. Sankirtan Chakya. For the Lord pleasure, the single brahmachari prepares jewels in the road for the Lord dancing up in the by meditation. The Lord embraces the leper Brahmana Vasudeva, free him from all diseases. On Sri Saila Hill in South India, the Lord Chaitanya discussed Krishna Katha with the Lord Shiva, Shambhu. Lord Mahaprabhu delivered his servant Krishna Das from the clutches of Bhaktasatis, the so-called sannyasis. When Buddhists give contaminated food to the Lord, an Agila bear took it and dropped up on their head. When the Buddhists give a contaminated food to the Lord, the eagle bear took it and dropped up on their head of the leader. Haridas Thakur watches the Lord return from his South India tour. As he beheld the Lord radiant face, Haridas Thakur left his body in Puri, in Jagannath Puri. The Lord personally carried Haridas Thakur body in procession to the beach of Puri, Jagannath Puri beach,
dancing in ecstasy.
The Lord personally distributed prasada in honor to Haridas Thakur passing away. Everyone's taking some prasada by the lotus hands of Mahaprabhu. Lord Mahaprabhu, thinking it is to be a Jamuna, the Lord fall unconsciously into the ocean. The both men kicking him. As his devotional ecstasy increased, the Lord dreamed of Rasa Lila and Vrindavan, Krishna with the Radharani, the gopis, singing and dancing. Nitai Gaurango Yoyo, Nitai Gaurango. Mahaprabhu discussed Krishna Katha, which is intima associated. Nitai Gaurango Yoyo, Nitai Gaurango.
पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ पूर्वस्वाकया नश्चित्रावधूरे सदा विरसका कया सुचिष्टया विदा। ॐ पूर्वस्वाकस्त्वा सत्यमरानम्मगमिष्टमत्सरन्दसः क्रीडाचिरारुजेवसु। ॐ पूर्वस्वामीषु नः सखेन वितारत्रेण शताम्बवास्युदये। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ यायुर्शन्तन्तरिक्षकं शन्ति पृथिवी सन्ध्यापशन्ति वायु शान्ति तेजः शान्ति औषधयः शान्ति लोकाः शान्ति ब्रह्मण शान्ति वैष्णव शान्ति शान्तिरस्तु तिथिरस्तु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ अङ्गयेनं क्रियायेनं विद्येनं श्रेयत्वमेत् अस्तु तत्सर्वचित्रं कृष्णकर्षणप्रसारणः यत्किञ्चित् वैगुणं जातं तद्दोषप्रशमानय श्रीकृष्णस्मरणं करोमि। ॐ राम 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 हरे हरे।
परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी प्रभुपाद की। इस्कॉन फाउंडर आचार्य हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस श्रील प्रभुपाद की। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर की। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की। नामाचार्य शिल हरिदास ठाकुर की। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद तमाल कृष्ण गोस्वामी महाराज श्रील गुरुदेव की। श्रील तमाल कृष्ण महाराजेर विरह महोत्सव की। श्रील तमाल कृष्ण गोस्वामी महाराज गुरुदेव Pushpa Samadhi celebration ki, Shri Vrindavan Dham ki, Shri Mathura Dham ki, Shri Jagannath Puri Dham ki, Shri Mayapur Navadir Dham ki, Ganga Mai ki, Jamuna Mai ki, Bhakti Devi ki, Tulasi Maharani ki, Harinam Sankirtan ki, Shamaveto Bhakta Vrinda ki, Srila Mahotsav ki, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gaurango, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Chakshuramitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guru Namaha. Namam Shivaya Krishna Prasthaya Vitale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namani. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvisesha Shrindavadi Prashanti. My acquaintance with Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj began in 1976, although we first started spending time together in 1979 from Chicago and then down to Dallas, Harmony, and so on, concluding with Oxford. My original desire to be with him, because I was the temple president in Chicago, was conditional that he would give me a training that he received from Srila Prabhupada, because he had so much association, and conversely I had very little direct association with Srila Prabhupada, and that was the deal. He got Chicago and I got association. That association didn't exactly come as the way I planned it. And over a period of, I guess from there till last year, which was about almost 25 years, my relationship with Tamal Krishna Maharaj was sort of an unfolding one. Abhiram Prabhu mentioned that last year. Tamal Krishna Maharaj had this great desire to be loved. Everyone has that desire, and he also had a great desire and a great capacity to love others. It wasn't, I can't say it was easy, but in time, I think I learned how to love him, and I can say that it wasn't easy to love him because it's much more difficult to love me. And I think he had developed that attitude earlier on. So we had a very loving relationship. It developed like that in time, although we used to argue a lot and we didn't see eye to eye on everything, and but that didn't really, it doesn't really matter. Krishna Kaviraj Goswami says that beloved doesn't increase love and the bad qualities doesn't decrease love. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shikshashtakam says same thing. Adarshana Mamahatam Kato Kika Vatatala Vidatalam Kato Pranana, whatever Krishna may be. Prananatas tu Saivanatara. And there are two kinds of love in the ultimate issue. One is called Tvadhiya Bhav, and the other is called Madhya Bhav. Tvadhiya means I belong to you, and the other one is you belong to me. So I think devotees can testify that Tamal Krishna Maharaj very much had this Madhya. His love was very, very possessive. Of these two types of relationships, in Krishna's relationship with gopis, Srimati Radharani's love is Madhya, and Chandravali's love is Tvadhiya. Srimati Chandravali, Devi thinks, I belong to Krishna. And that gives her a place on Krishna's right-hand side. But Srimati Radharani thinks that Krishna belongs to me, and therefore Krishna comes completely under her control. Goswami Maharaj also had this type of super possessive mood, love. And for those who could accommodate it, it was very, very pleasing, although it could be extremely demanding. I remember once here in Mayapur after lunch, he said, let's take a nap. I said, all right, I'm going to my room, and you go to your room. He said, no, let's both take a nap in my room. I said, I can't sleep very well when I'm near you because you generate so much energy that it's hard for me to go to sleep. He says, no, just this once. So I said, all right. And then we went in, and I was just going to lay down on the floor. And he said, no, you have to sit here, lay down in the bed beside me here. I said, I'm really not going to take any rest like that. He said, it doesn't matter, just lay down beside me. And then I wasn't all. And I lay down and said, give me your hand. So I couldn't go to sleep, but he went to sleep. Not for long, he didn't sleep for very long, maybe 10, 15 minutes. And anyway, he was very happy. He was very, very possessive. If I would phone him in England, then it was just sort of assumed that my GBC duties, travels, and everything should be rearranged in such a way that I would meet him at the appropriate time in Oxford, just when he wanted. And that was also fine, because he would, if I phoned him, he would just drop everything. Very often he would be on another line, and if I phoned him, then he would generally say, oh, just a minute, I'm talking to someone else, and then immediately he would phone me back. So, everyone, Krishna included, wants to be loved. And Goswami Maharaj also very much wanted to be loved with all of his personality traits. I believe there were many people who very much loved him, they may have had other feelings, all varieties of feelings, but it was very hard not to. And if one allowed, he was certainly very much willing to love somebody, even to the extent of micromanaging your every breath. Anyway, I can't think too much. Maybe one thing comes to mind just now. When we first got the farm in Oklahoma, Harmony, and I lived there for half a year, I think, something like that. Or maybe something to that. And I remember that one nice occasion when I cooked and filled these on the upper land, and somehow everyone had all gone, and I was going to take him down to the bottom where he was. I went into a what are they called? Jackasses, mules. They weren't ordinary mules. Anyway, they went running off with the chariots. Good thing Goswami Maharaj was, and they didn't show up till the next day. It was a big farm, 1,500 acres. And I told Goswami Maharaj I never really had much opportunity to do any real personal service. Personal service meaning bodily service, laughter service. And yes, on that occasion we finished and we were going out, and I don't know, for some reason he was wearing these big boots. Maybe we were all wearing these big boots. And I remember him stepping into the boots, and then there were a lot of buttons, and I buttoned them up one by one, tied them. That was a very, I felt by that service that I was able to do some type of menial service for him. I also felt like I was doing it for Srila Prabhupada. And anyway, it was a very nice exchange. I can say about that. He was always hankering for that. He used to complain very often that he missed being able to do that type of intimate service that he would do to Srila Prabhupada, especially in the last year when he was Srila Prabhupada's servant, personal, direct seva. Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
They are ready to speak. So Gauri Prabhu, please come here. Ranjana Shalakaya Satsuru Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Anjakalpatrubhischa Kritu Sindhu Bhir Bachapatitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishivebhyo Namo Namaha. So, I think that I can best describe my own particular relationship with Srila Tamal Krishna Goswami as a dialectical relationship. Sometimes we are on the same side, sometimes we are on the opposite side. And then again, back to the same side, and then again, back to the opposite. Was there a synthesis? Yes, there was. And that's one of the most remarkable things. I think last year I had some chance to talk about how I first had a prolonged encounter with Tamal Krishna Goswami when the very first Radha Damodar traveling bus broke down at our temple. And Tamal Krishna Goswami was there, Krishna Jananda Swami was there. And, in many ways that was some of the most important and best things I learned in Krishna consciousness. I learned from Tamal Krishna Goswami, not even so much by what he said, but just by watching him and by seeing the intensity with which he engaged in the service of Srila Prabhupada. Anyway, we formed a very strong and close relationship during that time. Then the Radha Damodar bus party expanded. There were lots of buses. Still we kept up a close relationship. I remember him at the temple again for a couple of days, a weekend. I'll never forget it. He went up into his room. It was 5 o'clock. And he had arranged a schedule where at a certain interval, I don't remember what it was, half an hour, 20 minutes, one after another, every single leader of the bus party would call in. This happened every week without fail. And so we had the phone ready and the line cleared and everything. And he sat down and looked at me and he said, "Now you're going to see the Tamal Krishna Goswami show." And so they called in one after another, and I was watching, and it was an amazing, it was a show. I would have paid a lot of admission if there had been a charge to see that show. How, just on the telephone line, I couldn't hear the other end of the conversation, but I could deduce what was going on, because they would give Tamal Krishna Goswami their glowing report about whole gaps. And he would put his little probe in there and start digging, and pretty soon, within a half an hour, he had the whole story in front of him. And then he dealt with each individual bus leader, smashed, cajoled, flattered, whatever he had to do. It was an amazing, it was quite something, the Tamal Krishna Goswami show. So we were friends like that, and then all of a sudden, some of you may know this history, when the Radha Damodar bus party began to start to systematically say bad things about the temple presidents in North America. They're all householders, almost all householders. And the bus party would pull up to your temple, and next thing you know, your brahmacharis were disappearing. The householders were not really competent to train these brahmacharis. One bus leader told me, we're like Narada Muni, and you're like Prajapati Daksha, and so on. So Tamal Krishna Goswami and I found ourselves on the opposite sides. And of course this big fight came up right to Srila Prabhupada, and right here in Mayapur came to quite a head. And afterwards, Tamal Krishna Goswami and I met, and we talked about it. And I have to say that all the time I was I became one of the spokespersons of the Householder Temple President, so we were quite opposite, and it was a public clash. But as I watched what he was doing, and I watched how he's behaved, and sometimes I became quite angry at him. I never lost my appreciation for him. And again, actually what it was is my love for him was increasing. Even in that kind of a situation. So in this way, things went back and forth with us. I don't need to get into all the different incidents or the histories. I never served under him. That was my decision to make sure I didn't. I always maintained a relationship with him by keeping a little bit out from under his direct power. I remember once when we used to get together all the time whenever we had a chance to talk. he was in Washington. I came down to see him, and we had lunch together. And so this lunch was being served out by a couple of brahmacharis. And they weren't very expert at what they were doing. And he began to get on their case. He began to chastise them very heavily. And pretty soon, they were so distraught. I mean, one boy was practically crying in the soup, and their hands were shaking, and they were completely falling apart. It was so heavy. And I lost my appetite entirely. So finally I said to him, when they were out of the room, I said, you know, I cannot eat in this atmosphere of terrorized servants. It just completely spoils everything for me. And he looked surprised. He says, well, I have to train them. I said, they have to be trained. And I said, okay, that's your job. But also, you have to consider your guests. So I think he took my point, because every other time I had lunch with him, which quite a few times, or dinner, it was uniformly pleasant. I don't know whether he dealt with these people afterwards, or he only met people that knew what they were doing. But it was quite nice. When he became involved in academics, I said to him, now you're on my turf. I don't know, you may, there was a nickname for Tamal Krishna Goswami among his godbrothers, Turmoil Krishna. Because wherever he went, somehow or other, there was turmoil. I didn't mind at all. I thought it was creative turmoil, and good things always came out of it. It was never destructive. But I knew there was when he was going to get in academics, and somehow or other somebody would get ticked off at him, or there would be some controversy or something. So I said, now you're on my turf. I said, I'm going to watch out for you, I told him. And he brought me, I met his mentors. I go to Cambridge and look over parts of his doctoral dissertation like this. And then the very last association I had with him was here in Mayapur last year. And he came up to me and he said, you said you were going to watch out for me, right? And I said, yes. And he said, well, I want you to do something. He said, I've written this essay together with Krishna Kshetra. It's going to be published in a book. And I'm not quite sure about some things. Would you read it over and tell me what you think? So I read the essay over, and I met with him, and I had questions, I don't know, 10 or 12 things. So he went over them, and made a whole bunch of changes. He said, as soon as I get back to America, I'll call these changes in. He didn't have his computer with him. The next morning he left his body. And so I was able to recover that manuscript, internet, in Calcutta, and call all the changes in, write all the changes in to the editor. And I thought, well, this is actually quite nice. I'm happy to be able to do one last service to Tamal Krishna Goswami. And I thought that was a great benediction. Srila Tamal Krishna Goswami ki jai.
Hare Krishna. So I'm a bit dry. I'm very happy to say something about a very dear God brother and a spiritual mentor and a close friend. Thank you. It's one of the symptoms of greatness that when a great personality deals with others, each person that he deals with feels that they have a special and unique relationship with that person.
when Krishna was dancing in the rasa dance, every gopi, although Krishna was dancing with all the gopis, each gopi felt that Krishna was only dancing with her, because that's his greatness, that he can extend himself unlimitedly to unlimited relationships and deeply immerse himself in those relationships. Every living being has the same qualities as Krishna, not unlimitedly, but to some degree. And the more Krishna conscious a person is, the more they exhibit those same qualities that Krishna has. So we saw that in Srila Prabhupada. He was able to extend himself. I saw that practically many times in the way that he dealt with his disciples, or even people that weren't disciples. Somehow or another he could strike up a relationship and people would go away feeling that they had some kind of unique connection with him. And this last year especially, I've come to understand more and more that Tamal Krishna Maharaj has that same quality. The same symptoms of Krishna consciousness, that whoever he dealt with, all of us, we all felt that we had some kind of a special and unique relationship with him, that he dealt with us in such a way, it was so personal and direct, that we all felt that special effect on our hearts. Excuse me. So, in Vrindavan, Ritapa Maharaj, he sent an offering. And in that offering, he mentioned that he discovered that there were two Tamals. There was Tamal at the office, and there was the real Tamal. He had spent some time with him personally, serving and helping him during his period of illness. And I was reflecting on that, and I was thinking, well, of course that's the quality of a Vaishnava, that he can be as hard as a thunderbolt, and he can be as soft as a rose. And Tamal's brother Carl also mentioned that at some point somebody had asked him if he was going to be initiated by Tamal Krishna Maharaj. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj had said, no, absolutely not, because I can't have the same kind of relationship with him if he becomes my disciple. It would destroy or disturb the sweetness of the relationship that he already had. So I also had a kind of a personal experience of that consideration that Tamal Krishna Maharaj was so expert at providing. Just after Prabhupada's disappearance in early 1978, I had invited Tamal to come to Australia to be the initiating guru there. So we had a little tour, and there were one or two incidents that occurred that were kind of, they were actually exceptional. They hadn't happened previously. One was in New Zealand. There was a prospective disciple, Sabal. He was cooking for Maharaj, and he was coming down the steps with this pot of hot dal. And Maharaj was just coming up, and somehow or another Sabal tripped, and so the hot dal went all over Tamal Krishna Maharaj. So you can imagine his reaction. So he thought, you know, these people down under, they're kind of far out people. What kind of a disciple is this that throws hot dal on his guru? And then later on we were in Sydney, and he was giving a Sunday Feast lecture. He was just chanting Jai Radha Madhava, and there was this crazy boy in the audience that suddenly leapt up onto the altar, took the brass deity of Lord Nityananda and tried to smash the marble deities of Radha Gopinath. He was just barely prevented from doing that, and you can imagine the turmoil that took place after that. So again, Tamal Krishna Maharaj was thinking, well, you know, Australia is a really far out place. And there were other things that I involved him in there. We had a temple president's meeting and we were discussing various things, and we asked him to come along and he gave his opinions, like that. So then we ended up in Mayapur a couple of weeks later, and he called me in one morning and he said, actually, he said, I'm not going to be the guru there. He said, Bhavananda can do it. He's more merciful than me. He said, I'm not merciful enough to initiate the Australians. So I was thinking, you know, what is this? It's not merciful enough, you know. Anyway, a couple of years later, he was visiting. So he took me aside one day and he said, actually, he said, I want to tell you the real reason why I didn't want to initiate here. He said, because I saw that, you know, as the GBC you were managing everything and you were involved in everything. And if I had come here as the guru, he said, it's my habit. I like to manage and I like to be involved. And he didn't say it directly, but he liked to control things. And he said, I saw you were doing that, but he said, we have our relationship that had developed on the basis of our service to Srila Prabhupada. We had spent 3 months together serving Prabhupada at different times. And he said, I don't want to disturb the sweetness of that relationship. So he said that was the real reason why I didn't come here as the guru. So I very much appreciated that. Then I was thinking, because of this thing Ritatvaja Maharaj said about the Tamal at the office and the real Tamal, that when you're in a formal situation, that's kind of like at the office, and that's necessary, and a lot of people saw Tamal in that way. But if you were fortunate enough to get into the sweetness of the relationship, that went beyond the official relationship, and then there's no going back. Once you have that sweetness established, you don't want to go back to the formal and the official and the Tamal at the office relationship. You want to maintain the sweetness. And I understood then that that meant for Tamal Krishna Maharaj, it was the sweetness of the relationships that was paramount. Although, you know, he was famous in our society for being such a demanding manager, down to the last detail of everything. But actually his real heart, the real Tamal if you like, or the soft as the rose, that was more prominent. And when you got close to him, that was all the relationship that he required. And he would put aside the other stuff in order to maintain that sweetness. So that's something that we'll all miss. He's gone on to serve Srila Prabhupada. That was the sweetness, the sweetest relationship that he had. I saw that just in the last month or so in Vrindavan, because Tamal Krishna Maharaj had come to serve Prabhupada as his secretary in January of '76. That was the first month that I'd spent with him doing that service. I was the Prabhupada servant. Then again he came the next year in February here in Mayapur. And then he confided me after a couple of days that he was giving up his GBC duties. He wanted to give up being out in the preaching field, and he had made a firm determination in his heart that he was just going to come and be with Prabhupada personally, and that he wanted to just stay with Prabhupada personally for as long as Prabhupada was left on the planet. He said, whether that's 10 years or 1 year, I don't care. But I've spent 8 years going out and preaching because that's what Prabhupada wanted us to do. But he said, I need that relationship now. I want to develop my personal relationship with Srila Prabhupada in a more intimate way. And at the time I was thinking that I was starting to think that it was my time to leave the party and to go out and do some preaching, because I had not done that before, but I'd been with Prabhupada for about 1.5 years. And it struck me very strongly at that point that perhaps Prabhupada is actually changing his Leela. I actually wrote it in the diary that I was keeping, that I was speculating, but it turned out later to be true, that I thought Prabhupada was actually beginning to change his Leela from preaching to Nirjana Bhajan, and that now Krishna was bringing this very senior, or the most senior devotee, the best person possible, to come and look after Srila Prabhupada in his last days on this planet, and that, you know, I'd had my formal training and now it's my turn to go out. And that's actually what happened. Prabhupada got sick at that festival, and then the last 10 months we all know about. So then later on I came back in October. Sorry, I just have to finish this. I came back in October and I saw that change in Leela had been affected both by Srila Prabhupada and Tamal Krishna Maharaj. The way that Tamal Krishna Maharaj was dealing with Srila Prabhupada was way beyond and way more intimate than anything any of the servants and secretaries previously had done. Prabhupada had put himself totally 100% in Tamal's hands, and he was dealing with him so sweetly and so affectionately. I was surprised, I was shocked actually, and I realized I could never have done that. Only Tamal could have done that. So one last point, in '76 in New York, Ramaswara, we were driving back from a morning walk, and Ramaswara was in the car and Tamal was there, I was there. He asked Srila Prabhupada, he said, just as Krishna, whenever he appears in a particular place, he has like an entourage that goes with him and they assist him wherever he goes. He said, is that the same for the spiritual master? So Prabhupada said, yes. So my realization is that Srila Prabhupada has some personalities that travel with him and help him with his preaching. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj is probably at the top of the list for going and traveling on that entourage to spread Krishna consciousness, and I'm quite sure that that's what he's doing right now. Tamal Krishna Maharaj ki.
My respectful obeisances to His Divine Grace, Tamal Krishna Goswami. I know on these formal occasions he would always want everyone to be addressed formally. He didn't like it when people called him Tamal. Although informally sometimes we would address each other. When I joined Krishna Conscious Movement in 1968 in San Francisco, I saw Tamal Krishna Goswami and Vishnuja. Mainly I was talked to by Jayananda Prabhu, Jayananda Prabhu. But I saw that they were dancing in kirtan. They all impressed me very much. And I didn't know that later I'd have so much association. Then I was sent to India in 1970. At that time, when Prabhupada arrived from Japan, then soon after, Tamal Krishna Maharaj also came to India, or maybe he was with him, I can't remember at this point, but I think even with him at that time. And I remember Srila Prabhupada sent him out to purchase the land in Mayapur, and how we were discussing, he was telling me how he came and they wrote down the serial number of every note that they gave for the land, just to like prove, like, you know, that we paid for it. And he was telling me how when they went out, it was only about maybe 11,000. It wasn't a lot of money, but they thought it was a lot of money. And the villagers, they had gone out with a truck filled with all the villagers with pitchforks and sticks to defend themselves in case they were, you know, what do you call it, ambushed on the way back to take their money. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj went with the other devotee, and I think it was Bali Maharaj at that time, and they went, and finally when he came back and he could give that document to show Prabhupada, or give that, tell Prabhupada it was done. Prabhupada was waiting up for him. It was like such a big thing, a big relief for Srila Prabhupada. Then, so that time I was in Calcutta, and he was my GDC, so I had the opportunity to work under him. At that time, he was like a Siksha Guru. Well, I wasn't a very submissive disciple, being younger, so he would get, it was hard to train, I think, but I'm sure between him and Srila Prabhupada, whatever, if I have anything at all, a very spaced out person, if I have any good qualities at all in any kind of managerial area, I'm sure it was all simply by their training. He would get very impatient with me sometimes, and I think 10 times he removed me as the president. Later, he would either put me back or Prabhupada would put me back. Prabhupada told me, you're supposed to just advise, no one's trying to do it. Because he really wanted, he knew how to do it right, and I wasn't able to really understand so well. But then when we went to, then I got shipped out to Mayapur, and we were working together to build the buildings. He'd come and oversee, and he'd help. And I remember we were riding together sometimes on the stone trucks and the steel trucks, because in those they were so afraid they're going to steal the stuff from us. And they did actually. One time we were taking the truck out, and we were all together, each riding on a different truck. We stopped on the way. Someone was to come in and have a glass of hot milk at some roadside stand. We were so hungry the whole day we hadn't eaten, so okay, we'll take this glass of milk. Then while we were taking the milk, someone ran and told us that they're actually stealing your steel, they're throwing it in the ditch. We ran out, and sure enough, they had unloaded some of the steel. So we were like that, working together, and at that time the relationship became more like a brotherly relationship, and